Today I'm going to be taking you through my commonplace journal, and I'm going to be recommending why you might want to start one and how it can help get you out of a creative rut. So I'm just going to show you how I've organised mine. They can be organised in different ways, but this is the way that I've liked to organise my one. So if you're anything like me, you probably have piles and piles of notebooks, notes all on your phone, like everything all over the place, and that's the way I've always done things. I'm pretty chaotic. If I see quotes I like, or if I see something I like, I screenshot my phone or I write down a note, and I never really go back to it. I don't organise it. Even when I put quotes and things in my notebooks, I get it completely mixed up with my own writing. I don't reference anything, so occasionally I'll be looking at an old notebook, I'll be reading through something I've written, and then just there is a Shakespeare quote, and I'm like, whoa, I'm a really good writer. So I wanted to do a commonplace book so that I can start to organise my thoughts a little bit better. I'm really trying to work on having better quality thoughts, better quality thinking, and following my curiosities. I think that's something that's been missing for me for a while, and I think that is how you end up in a creative rut if you do not follow your curiosities and your interests. It's kind of like everything passes you by. You might have a thought and then it's gone. You might have something you want to look up, but you don't look it up straight away, then it's gone. So what I want to do is just be more conscientious about what I'm thinking about, and literally guide myself towards wanting to have interest. And I think starting a commonplace book is really a good way to do that. So I'm going to kind of explain why it works like that, as opposed to just throwing notes wherever is most convenient, like in your phone. I had an old phone I couldn't get rid of because I had like so many notes in it, so I wanted to go through that and organise my notes. So I'll show you how I've organised this commonplace book. This is my first one. This is a notebook I bought from Amazon, which I thought was really pretty, and the reviews were really good. It's maybe a tenner or something. It was not expensive, but the quality of the paper is actually really, really nice. So I'm very pleased with this. And what I really love about this is that it's got page numbers in it. So that kind of saves you from having to go through and number the pages. So that you've got all your page numbers there. If you didn't have the page numbers, you would probably need to go through and number them, because you want to keep a contents page. So if you have a look at the contents, there's the contents. I'll go through that in a minute, but I've basically got three content pages there. So you can see that's content page, and you've got your page number and your topic, and I've got three of them. So what I did first of all, in order to know how I'm going to organise this, was I counted through how many content lines there was. So there was 72 content lines in total, and there was 316 pages. So I did a little calculation, and that's 4 pages per topic. So my idea is then to have 72 topics and give them 4 pages, and that means you know, I don't just fill up like one page and then that's it. If the topic is interesting enough for me to add to this, I want to be able to keep adding to it and not just have the one page. So it's quite good. I've assigned the 4 pages to it, and then I can move on to the next topic, so I can always go back and fill in those 4 pages. So I think I'm really pleased, because I think like having 72 things that I'm interested in, or that I'm now going to be thinking about what am I interested in, what can I take notes in. I've got space for 72 different things that I could take an interest in, which I've never organised in this way before, and it's quite exciting because I can be like, oh, what am I interested in? It's opened up a lot of space for me, because I think actually maybe I only think about, you know, 6 or 7 topics on loop. And I don't allow myself to explore the little things that pop into my mind, or, you know, when I read something, or I read an article, or, you know, something pops into my head, I think I just let that go. And now I'm going to be thinking, like, what can I actually record? What is interesting enough for me to put in this book? And then as I'm going through this, then, you know, it's going to be a good keepsake of actually what interests me. I think, you know, I've heard this described as kind of like a personal encyclopedia. It's completely tailored to what interests you, what you want to record, take notes on, and you're going to be able to always look back at it and it's not disorganised, it's not just quotes randomly thrown around or facts that you've picked up. It's going to be organised in a nice way that you can look back on it. So if I have a look at mine, this is my content page so far. So I've got there, I wanted to start with learning because this is like the most important thing for me just now, is that I'm being very intentional with my learning. That's something I really want to focus on this year. So I started off with the learning topic. Then I was going through all my old notes and things on my phone. So this is why, like, these are all kind of things that are of interest to me over the years mostly. So I've got writing, which of course is important to me. So I really like to gather quotes about writing. Feminism is something that's very interesting to me, and that one of the books I've written was about that. So funnily enough, I thought I would have lots of quotes on feminism, but I actually couldn't find any, even though it's like one of my topics I'm most interested in. Personal growth is another one. I usually take lots of screenshots when I see quotes about personal growth that resonate with me. Gender stereotyping, I was writing a book to do with gender, to do with feminism. So I did gather quite a lot of gender stereotyping. That's something that interests me as well. Happiness, so I think a lot of times I sort of have been guilty of focusing on the negative in life. So I didn't want to like write anything about mental health or negativity or depression. I actually wanted to keep this upbeat and just put in happiness quotes. So this is something that's a little bit different for me as well. I tend to gravitate towards that negativity, and I'll actually write down things in my notes that maybe are a little bit depressing, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep this on a more positive note for myself, so that when I look through it I can actually look at happiness quotes instead of looking at it the other way. Solitude, I spend a lot of time by myself, so I'm definitely very interested in people's opinions and people's thoughts and different quotes to do with solitude or to do with loneliness. And again, I've given it the more positive title, which is solitude and not loneliness. So I'm going to be collecting quotes on that. AI, like the rise of AI, is another topic that I just find really fascinating. So I've got 4 pages now, I can keep an eye on that when that comes up. The internet, again, I'm just interested in the way the internet's developed, and I think for me, I see like quite a massive downfall on the internet. I might actually make a specific video on that. The internet's just changed so much in my time. So I just wanted to like look further into that to see like this is not just me, and see other people's opinion on the internet, and kind of think more deeply about what's going on there and what's changed. Beautiful sentences. Sometimes I come across sentences in books that it's not that they're quotes that resonate or mean something particularly for me, but it's just the actual wording and the poetry of them is something that I want to note down and keep with me, because it will inspire, it inspires my writing. Densely populated cities is really specific, and I think you should be focusing on things that are specific, because probably the more specific you can look into things the better actually. I'm writing a book that's going to be set, or like the main character is going to be coming from a densely populated area, and I just want to learn more about how people live in those areas, or you know, how these really densely populated areas that are not near infrastructure and people are kind of crammed in. I just want to learn more about how they actually operate. And then animation, I've not written anything yet for this, but I was watching The Last Airbender last night, Avatar The Last Airbender, the cartoon, and I've never seen it before, and as I was watching it I was thinking, wow, like the attention to detail on this, the quality of it, the jokes, the writing, everything seemed so impressive, and it was like a Nickelodeon show in it, and I was just thinking to myself, I think there's been some kind of downfall or drop in quality of animation just in general, and I was thinking this the other day when I was watching Shrek. Shrek's just come on Netflix, so I was watching Shrek, and again, like the detail in that and the detail of the jokes, I have this feeling that we don't see that as much anymore, but I don't know if that's just a hunch and just a feeling. So I actually wrote down animation here, and what's good about this is that I didn't actually have any quotes or anything that I'd looked up at that point, but because I've now put it here, I've got 4 pages to fill on this. That's now something that I can go and look into. So it's like you're giving yourself homework for those little ideas that come into your mind, or the thoughts that come into your mind as you're watching something, as you're reading something. And maybe, you know, you're watching it and enjoying it. I mean, last night I was really enjoying Avatar: The Last Airbender. I wasn't thinking to myself, oh, I want to stop this and write down notes about everything I'm seeing. Like, I wanted to just enjoy it, but because in the back of my mind I thought, actually I would like to learn a little bit more about, has there been a change in animation, or, you know, how was this made? And I would like to read more about that, and more about the point of view of animators. I think that'd be super interesting. So all I've done is just stuck this in here, and that's now space for me to look into that when I get the time to look into that. And I think this is one of the most positive things about this. It's like you're almost giving yourself permission to follow every spark that comes to you, and I think that is where you're going to pull yourself out of a creative rut. I think, you know, it's just going to open up the world for you, and, you know, just looking at this, what I've written here would be so different from what somebody else has written and wants to keep notes on. Like, that's why it's going to be very specific to you, and you can already see this shaping up. It's like my own little encyclopedia. I have seen people do this in alphabetical order, but for me that wouldn't work because, you know, I don't know everything that I want to explore yet. I'm really using this as like a starting point for exploration and for establishing what interests me. So I don't know yet what all that will be. I want to be really open-minded. I want to grow and pursue learning about different things, and that's why learning is my first topic there. So if you can have a wee look through what I'm doing here. So on each starting one, I've just got the heading up there, and then I've got the different quotes. So I've just finished the book I Who Have Never Known Men, and it had this great quote: I read and reread the book. I acquired a perfectly useless knowledge, but I enjoyed it. I felt as if I had embellished my mind. And that's like a great way of thinking about things. It's that you are embellishing your mind with everything that you're learning. It's not wasted. It embellishes your mind, like whether you utilize that knowledge or not. I think that's the point of it. Like, there's purpose in learning just for learning's sake. And then some quotes from different people here. So I've now left myself like the 4 pages for this, and then I've got my quotes on writing, which I gather lots of quotes on writing, so I've just kind of taken the ones that most interested me, and I've started here. And again, I've got other pages to go back and look at that. Personal growth, a lot of things I screenshot are just internet comments, so they're not like coming from anywhere, like any incredible source. They're literally just a comment on the internet, but I've just noted that down. I think anything that inspires you is worth taking, so I've just noted those down. So in general, what I'm doing is taking quotes or comments or just different facts and putting them in. And you can just do that. I think the idea of the Commonplace book is to really gather up information from different sources. But occasionally, like, you might want to add something as well, because this is about your journey and your learning. So if you want to activate your brain and then just go that one step further, I've sometimes put this PN, which is just personal note. So I've got a quote about AI there, and then I've just put the personal note just to kind of back up what this is saying and really what I think. So we want to look at art and know that a person was behind it trying to communicate something. We want to admire all the work we know must have went into producing it. So that's kind of how I feel about AI, and why art is always going to be needed from human perspective. Like, yes, AI may be able to write a book, it may be able to paint a picture, but really we admire things where we can think about the person behind that, what they're trying to communicate to us. Also, as humans trying to be productive, we also admire the hours and the days and the years that we know went into things. Like, particularly for me, when I'm in bookshops, I always am looking at the books and thinking, you know, you've got like this little thing which is, you know, maybe it'd take you a few hours to read, but that's been somebody's like last 3 years or whatever. You know, that's taken somebody years to produce. This is part of what we admire when we read things or when we consume art. So again, this beautiful sentence I'll share with you, like this is from the book No One Is Talking About This. Beautiful sentence. I kind of actually have lost the context for this sentence, but it really, I just think it's lovely. So touching a symbol for sound and then touching it again for silence. I don't know, I think it's like so profound, even though I've lost the context of the meaning of it. So I think I will actually go through that book again and see what the context of with this, but it really makes me, I don't know, it just, you know, when certain phrases just hit you, like that's so clever. So I love that. And then with this densely populated cities, it's not particular quotes or phrases or anything. I've just been on websites learning more about this, and I've just put really just some facts that are going to help me think deeper about this. And you can see here, this is what I was talking about with animation. I had nothing yet, I haven't done any kind of research into this yet, but I've now got this space so that I know I can start to look into that and write down things. So that is a tour of my commonplace book. Again, I've just started it really because I'm trying to organise my notes and my thinking, and I'm trying to encourage myself to be a better thinker, to take note of more things that are around me, like not to just pass by or ignore the little thoughts that come into my mind or anything that I've engaged with. So I think this is really helpful in order to organise your own thoughts and your own interests and not really take anything for granted. So I think in this way, it really does help to spark your creativity. I mean, even I was just reading about the densely populated cities, and that straight away helped set my imagination up for the book that I was writing, that I'd actually been struggling with for a while. So it's so important just to like immerse yourself in the topics that you're interested in. And I think it's just going to be wonderful once I get to the end of this and can see everything that I've taken an interest in. And I think it will say a lot about, it will maybe tell you things that you didn't realise about yourself, like, oh, I didn't actually realise I had an interest in that, but that is something that spoke to you and that you wanted to put in your commonplace book. So I think, you know, if something speaks to you and you think you want to put it in, then definitely I would just go ahead and do that. And then at the end, it's just going to be like it's actually like more interesting than a diary, because it's like, these were the things that sparked my imagination, these were the things that interested me. It's not just like I did this today or I did that today. I think it says more about who you are as a person. You know, what you're interested in is really who you are. So there we go, that was a little look at my commonplace book. I hope that's maybe inspired you to start your own commonplace book, and definitely I recommend getting one with page numbers if you can, and if you want to organise it like this, I think this is probably one of the best ways to do it. So if you're thinking about doing it, I would just say go for it, because you're going to have a really good document of your interests, and it's going to enrich your life because you're going to be looking out for things to take an interest in, whereas those things might have passed you by before. And now, if you have a commonplace book and you're looking to fill it, you're going to have to be more intentional and proactive about what interests you. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!